So I, like you, have all been patiently waiting to play Dune Awakening, or at least get some more information. Well, I've been following along on every type of video, short or content they've been releasing to do with Dune Awakening. When there's a release date, I'll be the guy to go to, and when the game drops, I'll also be one of the people to go to with all of the tips, tricks, guides that I can possibly bring you in Dune Awakening. And in today's video, they've just released a video today, Funcom themselves, which is the press and the creators video, and we're going to go over it, deep dive into it, react to it, and see if we can pick apart any new information that's going to be coming in June. So let's jump in.
I think it's a really exciting idea of a game. It's combining so many elements with such a well-known IP.
I'm excited to see what the landscape's going to look like with tons of players running around and all the houses being built.
First question, guys, just on that first opening sentence there, on the Dune IP, how many people that are actually watching this video knew about Dune before the films? Because Dune obviously peaked up on a lot of people's radars when the films got released. That's how a lot of people now are discovering it and hearing about it. Not a lot of people know that there's a game. I played Conan Exiles, so for me, it was something that I'm familiar with. But let me know if you found out about Dune because of the movies or because of the previous releases that Dune has had in the past, whether it be books, magazines, or you name it.
Being built.
First couple hours now, it's been great. A lot of exploring, a lot of learning. So far, I love it. It's great. My favorite part about it is that it's just so unique.
It's good to hear. Very good to hear. Unique.
My name's Joel Bylos. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Funcom and the Creative Director on Dune Awakening.
My name is Scott Jr. I am the Executive Producer for Dune Awakening.
I think players have given us a lot of feedback, especially since we've been running a beta for almost a year at this point. I think one of the most important things is just the quality of life that they notice. It really sucks to have to drag every item from your inventory into a chest. Can we have a quick deposit button? And then
isn't that really good to hear, by the way? So I don't believe I know of any gaming company to release a beta for at least a year, been in testing for over a year, let's say. Imagine that, like the amount of valuable information you're going to be getting. You're going to be able to track stats. So you're essentially getting everything a game wants to improve and update in the future before the game even gets published to the wider audience. So you should, in theory, have the best game on the market the day it releases to those who have not played it. Even those who are playing it should get a way better version than when they first started. Really, really cool and music to my ears.
Item from your inventory into a chest, can we have a quick deposit button? And then we've done that, right? Things like that, they really improve the game experience. As a game developer, sometimes you just become blind to these obvious, easy fixes.
The most important feedback we've gotten from our players is really on the onboarding and the accessibility of the game. We want to make sure that Dune Awakening is a approachable game, and while Arrakis is dangerous to be on, we want to make sure that we are focusing on improving the points so that we can get players to the enjoyable elements of the game.
During the playtest now, I've been talking with a lot of people. Generally, it's the world, the atmosphere, the vibe of the game that people really, they really vibe with it. We had a long discussion at dinner last night about the sandworm. I just think people really love that feeling of like being chased by this giant force of nature.
The aspect of the game that we've been really proud about, how Dune the game feels. This is the first time players have been able to live their life on Arrakis. In Dune Awakening,
I will pause it there and I'm going to bring it back. But early trailers that we had seen with gameplay, with the shooting, it did not look nowhere near as advanced as that did then. That actually is on par to current third-person shooting games. I thought that looked really, really good. And that's why I wanted to point it out, because we're going to see a lot of gameplay footage, or what I believe to be a lot of gameplay footage in this. And we've seen early gameplay footage and it didn't look nowhere near as crisp as this shooting here.
Live their life on Arrakis. In Dune Awakening, players are walking on Arrakis. They're crash landing. When we upgrade from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5, the advanced lighting and the technology just made the world become so much more immersive. The art team has been able to, using help that we've gotten from Legendary with the assets there, we've created some very interesting desert environments that are different.
Advice for players on Dune? Easy. Rest in black shade, stay out of the sun, conserve your water, and preserve the integrity of your still suit. Look both ways before you cross the sand.
I'm not being funny. Looking at the red rocks in this desert, it looks like they've taken a lot of assets from Star Wars Outlaws. Now, that game was absolutely beautiful. The gameplay itself wasn't that great. A lot of people will disagree. A lot of people really love the game. For me, I like multiplayer games. So it wasn't that it was bad. It just, the AI had a problem, that's for sure. But a lot of these in-game elements that we're seeing definitely look like they've been coming from, or assets have looked like they've been coming from Star Wars Outlaws. Good thing.
before you crossed the sand.
It is a unique survival experience. Going and exploring the various locations, meeting some of the popular characters, creating your own journey, whether it's, pairing with the Atreides, siding with Harkonnen, participating in that faction conflict that we have, or staying neutral, just focusing on surviving and thriving on Arrakis.
Faction conflict.
Playing the game for a while, you'll start to feel the effects of spice, and that will lead you to certain Fremen areas, which lead you to certain items that will make desert survival a much easier task. I really like the process of layering in story in a world. There are locations in the game that are called specific things. All of those names are tied to a piece of writing or lore that we've done in the background. It's not necessarily surface to the player in the game. But then in another part of the same area, you might find an item, and that item shares a name with a location. And the description on that item might describe what happened at that location for this item to be created. And it kind of creates this feeling that this world is lived in, that people have been here before, that there's more going on than just your story, that the world itself has a story.
For me personally, working on the project, to see the creativity that the design team has had to come up with a Dune-focused combat solution has been very insightful. We have a very unique approach to combat. It's not like anything really in any other games, where we've come up with some really neat mechanics to make ranged combat.
Okay, I'm pausing it there. I know you wanted to hear that, but we're seeing frames drop. Now, we do know that this is beta, not alpha, beta, and the AI didn't see them straight away. I mean, that response time was pretty bad. Obviously, these things probably should get changed upon release, but it's things that we do need to take note just in case when it does release. If that doesn't happen, let's just have a look here. Look, when you walk into the room,
approach to combat. It's not
one,
like anything
two,
any other
three,
game, where we've come up with some really neat mechanics to make ranged combat and melee combat with abilities and vehicles work in the Dune setting.
Yes, this looks so good.
There's a lot of survival games coming out these days, and this one really brings a lot of new elements to that genre that I've never seen in there before.
Okay, so armors do have heat protection and armor value. We're not seeing a lot more. Maybe there is actually higher rarity of items, but what I'm seeing, looking at the 1V, I'm not too sure what that is, on the bottom left of each item, we can see that they've all got that little green, or at least the loadout things definitely have that on them. You can also customize, we can see there by hitting U, you can customize it. So who knows what the customization is, but there's still quite a lot of parts that we can put on our character. This looks really good. Looking at the top, we're seeing crafting, technology, skills, journey, customization. It's a lot more in depth than Conan Exiles was.
Sand ones, of course. Just the thrill of seeing charge around and occasionally come up out the sand.
I think I got into it really quickly, and I think it's fairly straightforward and easy to learn.
I feel like we've only just kind of touched the surface of it. So I feel like as we get deeper into it, we'll really get to really see it.
One of my favorite things so far has actually been sitting at the porch in my house, just watching people get swallowed by the massive water.
Honestly, for the first 4 or 5 hours that we've played so far, I've had a really decent impression.
Firstly, there is Dune. Some people know the IP well, and some don't. Some have seen the movie, but never read the book. Some have read the book 72 times. And so we have a challenge. Most survival games have this ability to lean into a player's sense of intuition, where we have to kind of find these survival loops and make them work and give them proper explanation in our lore.
You've got these flying vehicles, the different progression systems, an open class system where to kind of dip into all the classes. Opening cutscenes are really epic. How you end up on the planet. I think it's going to be really interesting for people. I think just seeing how it progresses in the later stages of the game. The early stages are very survival, which is right up my alley.
The first couple hours now, it's been great. A lot of exploring, a lot of learning. Actually, I like the night times the most, when you actually see the ships flying over, trying to find you, and you see the moon.
Just look at that big sandworm. It's been a highlight so far, I have to say. The visuals as well. It's such a beautiful game.
And the gameplay that I've experienced today, it looks really, really polished for being a beta version of the game.
When we get to meet up with other people and stuff, we get to play around. And right now, I think some of the boys are building a speed ramp to start doing some jumps with the bikes.
awakens.
I mean, it's always nerve-wracking when you sort of let people into the game. Pressing creators trying out the game now for the first like 6 to 8 hours of the game. What I'm hoping to see is excitement, people seeing the potential of the game, getting to understand how much we've nailed the atmosphere of the universe.
Today we expect to get a really good feedback on the early game from our content creators, give them the opportunity to play Dune Awakening for the first time and really see what excites them and excites their audiences about the game.
And sort of being able to hopefully get eaten by at least one sandworm once.
Launching a game at Funcom, you work on a product for 5+ years. Ultimately, it comes down to somebody pushing a button, launching the servers and releasing it on Steam or on Xbox or PlayStation. It's an exciting time, it's an incredibly stressful time, but there's nothing quite like seeing players experience what you've been working on for so long. It's always amazing seeing players come in, seeing how they're experiencing the game, how they're using the tools that you've created in unique ways that you could never expect. And really seeing the community interact and thrive.
There's a moment around launch. You've been working towards this vision, this project for, like 5 years. A month or two before launch, normally, you can change less and less, and then at some point you can change nothing. And that's it. That's the thing that's going out to the world. Because we know we're going to
crazy.
We're going to make updates in the future, but you know that this is the first impression. There's a moment where you become a bit powerless to change things, but you also kind of go, okay, it's in their hands now. It becomes the players. And I think you have to be very careful with live games, not to evolve them beyond what the core player base really loves about them. That is kind of, I make this joke that no plan survives the first contact with the players. and it's really how it is. And then you get to find out what people really like about your game. And that's the part that I think is the most exciting.
Okay, interesting take. Is that the video? It is the video. What did we all think of the video? To be fair, we did see some very interesting elements, gameplay elements that we didn't see before. One thing that I absolutely love in games like these is the crafting. It's like Once Human was a survival game that I really liked because of the building that you could do in that. But with Dune Awakening, yeah, the gunplay was looking pretty sound. I don't know about the melee combat, but do they really need to work on the melee combat? Because in Conan Exiles, that was already mastered, or what I thought was pretty decent. So just adding gunplay to the Conan Exiles swordplay, or handplay, whatever you want to call it. Then with the Conan Exiles building, but took to another level, because we do know on Dune Awakening that you can actually make a building, have that blueprint, upload it, and sell it to the wider community, which I will probably be doing, but not selling it. I'll be giving it to the wider community for you all to be able to have and be able to add it to your base, do extensions, whatever it may be. I'm not too sure what the building limit will be on this, because on Conan Exiles, as long as you were within your grounds, you could build as much as you wanted. I made a whole flipping village in that game. Yeah, this game looks really good. It's definitely going to be an 11 out of 10 for me when the game does drop. I hope at least, but as my expectations right now, that's where I'm sitting at. Let me know what you think. Like, follow, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.